Over the years, Cadillac has unveiled some truly weird concept cars, the Cadillac Voyage, the Cadillac 16, and the Cadillac CL, to name a few. But one car stands out as perhaps the weirdest of them all, not just for its design and technology, but for the time in which it debuted. Let's set the stage. It's 1959. McDonald's opened its 100th restaurant. Miles Davis released his masterpiece, Kind of Blue, and the first Barbie doll hit store shelves. That same year, Cadillac introduced the Cyclone, arguably the most bizarre design in their history. And in this video, we're going to take a closer look at it. This video is inspired by two articles about the Cadillac Cyclone, one from Below the Radar and another from How Stuff Works. You'll find the links in the Google Doc linked in the description. I highly recommend checking them out if you'd like to learn more. First unveiled in 1959 at the Daytona Speedway, the Cadillac Cyclone XP-74 was designed to grab attention, and it succeeded. With its massive tail fins, bubble canopy, and cone-shaped front end, it was the perfect combination of science fiction and automotive engineering. At the Daytona Speedway unveiling, U.S. Air Force General Curtis LeMay was set to drive the car for a pace lap, but things didn't go smoothly at first. The air suspension system inflated to full height and the automatic door locks malfunctioned. Luckily, the engineers who built the Cyclone were on site to fix it just in time for the ceremony. The lap went off without a hitch, and smiles returned for the photo session afterward. This car was Harley Earl's parting gift to Cadillac before he retired in 1958. Earl was the mastermind behind some of General Motors' most iconic designs, and the Cyclone was meant to be the ultimate send-off. Unfortunately, it wasn't ready until after he retired, leaving designer Carl Renner to finish the project. Think of Harley Earl as the guy who throws the perfect party, but then leaves before dessert. Lucky for us, the Cyclone still made it to the table. This was no ordinary concept car. Everything about the Cyclone was inspired by jet aircraft. From the massive fins at the back to the sleek, tapered body, it looked like it could take off at any second. And let's not forget the bubble canopy. Here's the kicker. The canopy wasn't just for show. It could be stowed behind the seats, resting on an airbag. And if the weather turned nasty, a sensor in the console would detect rain and automatically close the canopy. Pretty smart for the 50s, right? It's like the Cyclone said, "Don't worry, I've got you covered," literally. But there's more. The Cyclone came equipped with an early crash avoidance system. Yup, a crash avoidance system in 1959. Those cone-shaped elements at the front, which were known as Dagmars, weren't just for show either. They housed radar antennas that scanned the road ahead, warning the driver with lights and sounds if there was an obstacle in the way. Basically, the Cyclone had a radar-based proximity system built into its front bumper cones. If something was in the way, a light on the dashboard would start flashing, along with a display showing how close you were and how much room you had to stop. As you got closer, a warning sound would kick in, getting louder and higher pitched. The system was even supposed to hit the brakes automatically to avoid a crash, but no one was brave enough to test that part, so we'll never know if it really worked. Imagine explaining this to someone in 1959. "Oh yeah, my car has radar." People probably thought the Cyclone could call in an airstrike. Now, let's talk about what powered this beast. Under the hood was a 6.4-liter V8 pumping out 325 horsepower. It drove the rear wheels through a 3-speed hydromatic transmission with a 2-speed differential, giving it 6 gears in total. The original plan was to power the Cyclone with a gas turbine engine, to really lean into the jet theme. But that technology wasn't quite ready, so Cadillac went with a V8 instead. Still, this was no ordinary engine setup. The power steering and air suspension pumps, air conditioning compressor, water pump, and dynamo were all belt-driven, an innovation at the time. And because of this setup, Cadillac could lower the hood line, giving the car a sleeker profile. It even had a specially designed low-profile carburetor and a filtered air scoop built right into the hood. To put it simply, they made this car as low and mean-looking as possible. And those exhaust pipes, they exited ahead of the front wheels, meaning Cadillac skipped running them down the length of the car. Talk about efficiency and style. At its core, the Cyclone was a heavily modified 1959 Cadillac Series 62 convertible. Its wheelbase was chopped down to just 104 inches, giving it a compact and aggressive stance. The doors were electrically operated and slid backward instead of opening outward. A cool touch that screamed futuristic. But here's where it gets quirky. With the bubble canopy in place, there weren't any windows to roll down. Instead, Cadillac added square ports in the doors that could be opened for ventilation. Practical? Maybe not. Cool? Absolutely. So what happened to this incredible concept car? Well, it's still around today in General Motors' Heritage Collection, but it's been through some changes. When Bill Mitchell succeeded Harley Earl at General Motors, he made a few tweaks to the Cyclone. The tail fins were shortened, the tail lights were moved to the bumper, and the air suspension was replaced with coil springs. And let's talk about the paint job. Originally, the Cyclone was a pristine white. At some point, it got a silver makeover, and the silver finish on the bubble canopy peeled away over the years. So it's not quite the showstopper it was in 1959, but it's still a head-turner. The Cadillac Cyclone represents a golden age of automotive design, a time when automakers dreamed big and pushed boundaries. Sure, some of its features were impractical or ahead of their time, but that's what made it special. It was an experiment in innovation, and it dared to imagine a future that was bold and exciting. Think about it: radar crash avoidance, automatic climate control, and a canopy that closes itself in the rain. These ideas were groundbreaking in 1959, and they paved the way for the advanced systems we see in cars today. The Cyclone may not have made it to production, but it definitely left its mark. The Cadillac Cyclone isn't the only wild concept car from its era. The 1950s and 1960s were a playground for automotive designers who didn't just think outside the box. They threw the box out completely. Take the Ford Seattle IT-21, for example. Unveiled in 1962, it featured futuristic ideas like modular components and cutting-edge technology that seemed decades ahead of its time. Sure, it never made it to production, but it shows just how imaginative designers were during this period. It was an era where boundaries weren't just pushed, they were obliterated. Now back to the Cyclone. So, was the Cadillac Cyclone the ultimate dream car? Maybe not, but it was a glimpse into what cars could be. More than just a way to get from point A to point B, it was about style, imagination, and pushing the limits of what was possible. If you ever get the chance to see the Cyclone in person, take a moment to appreciate the sheer ambition behind it. And if you're feeling inspired, maybe take your car out for a spin today, but don't expect it to close the windows for you when it rains. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe and click on the recommended video that appears on the screen. It's one I think you'll really enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.